Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good day to all of you. I wish that everybody are doing well and very healthy. To continue with our lecture, so just now we have already looked into the global market in terms of the strategy analysis, and then now we are going to look at the local gap, where we are in terms of the gaps compared to the global. Unlike offsets, aerospace-related national procurements have not been fully utilized to influence and shape the landscape of industry. Right? In the previous lecture, also I have already highlighted that we have initiative called offsets. Currently, it is called Industry Collaborative Program (ICP). It is being conducted by the Technology Depository Agency (TDA) under the Ministry of Finance, where any procurement by the government more than 50 million ringgit has to have their respective offset program, ICP program. So we can see here for new acquisitions, right? New procurement of asset unable to promote local content. Of course, when we buy new asset, we rely too much on direct offset. Okay, and also direct offset meaning that we depend on what the company willing to give to us. For example, like when we buy I think 400M before, we are able to ask the OEM Airbus saying that we are buying 4 aircraft, 4 A400M, and then we want to have indirect offset. Indirect offset meaning that it is not related to the program. It is also called something not directly to the project. So if it is related to the program, we call it as direct offset program, direct ICP program. So but we Malaysia cannot demand too much because we buy very low number of aircraft, low volume, because the problem is that we buy too many different types of aircraft. That's the problem. Okay, we used to buy aircraft like our previous fighters A4, Skyhawk, and then we move into Hawk aircraft, one-seater and two-seater aircraft, and then we have MiG-29, we have Sukhoi Sukhoi type of aircraft, and then we move into F-16, we have F-18. So there are so many different type of aircraft that eventually resulted to difficulty to promote local content, to be involved in direct offset because there's so many players. So that is the issue. Okay, because we are talking now, what we would like to discuss in this particular lecture is about what are lacking in the current activities, the current policies of aerospace industry in Malaysia, right? Among others is about new acquisition, and then buy off the shelf altitude. Many ministries, many government procurement officers especially, this is also political driven, where they like to buy off the shelf altitude, meaning that we want to upgrade something, we just order from Mexico, order from Japan, order from China, and so on. So we do not have a developmental project which is what we call it as difficult to change the attitude, where developmental project that is involving local industry is not there, right? At the same time, in-service support acquisitions, clarity on award of maintenance, repair, overhaul contracts to local and local foreign companies is still need to be improved. Opportunity for local companies to be awarded upgrade contracts, inability to influence behavior of industry player, hence control their performance. So in-service support acquisition is also need to be fully utilized, fully optimized, so that any contract related to MRO can be beneficial to both parties. Of course, the companies also need to have a what we call it a clear contract, where they also want to make money. Of course, at the same time, in the government side, we also do not want to just to spend money year in year out, because we, as I mentioned in our previous lecture, we are spending around 500 to 1 billion ringgit Malaysia every year in terms of giving services contract to maintain our asset, right? Institutions that have direct influence on industry development are not truly strong promoters of aerospace industry. Okay, in terms of the institution like that are buyer, those government agency that are buying assets, inconsistency of procurements undertaken by various ministry, because we have so many agencies having aerospace related asset and defense related assets, resulted in missed opportunities. So because this ministry would like to buy, all right, I'm sorry about that, buy something, and at the same time the asset also being bought by different ministry, just a risk, for example, the drone capabilities, we have our bomber, our fire department having their own unit of drone division, our police department, police PDRM, Police Diraja Malaysia, also having their own drone unit. Of course, the military also having their own drone unit. So because at the end of the day, everybody are trying to buy on their own. It's not developing our own. Not that many. I think we have just one or two companies are developing technology drone related on our own. The rest are just buying the platform from outside. So many players, so many procurement being made, and we resulted in missed opportunities. Not so well informed decision making resulted in industry development potential not optimized. It is still happening until today in the industry. At the same time, in terms of regulator, this is the previous experience. We take too long to transform DCA, because the initiative is already being highlighted or being stated in the 1997 blueprint, but DCA transformed to CAM just recently, in 2000. I can't remember the exact date. We may need to confirm back on the transformation of DCA to CAAM. Okay, and OEM dependent attitude on design changes also another issue, where anything you want to change on the aircraft, even for the military asset, we refer back to the OEM. Okay, that is quite a missed opportunity, right? Industry developer, okay, like a full commitment of Ministry of International Trade and Industry, the ministry that responsible on the industry development and its agencies to develop the supply chain, also need to be the major player, the strong promoters of aerospace industry. Okay. Not enough effort in advancing technological capability and embed science and technology in aerospace, which stagnate the growth of high-tech content and sophistication. So even though we already have Aerospace Malaysia Innovation Center established in 2011, so it's already 10 years in the running for AMIC, but we can't see a big impact yet in term of, because there's lack of funding provided for in term of the aerospace development or aerospace technology development, in term of what we want. Where is the road? We do have a roadmap for aerospace technology in Malaysia. This is published by AMIC, but it is not really coordinated in terms of the implementation of the technology roadmap for aerospace. So R&D not focused and teams project not well coordinated at national level. Okay, this has to be corrected, and aiming a good start, but R&D investment by local players, the industry players themselves are not willing to do investment in research and development. So we cannot just rely on the government funding. Okay, so many developed countries, if you look at the model of the UK, Europe, Japan, Taiwan, or China, and many other countries, the industry themselves, right? They themselves provide their funding for R&D, not just relying to the government. And companies not intensely advancing their capability, because many of our aerospace players are still small in nature, and they are just providing activities that are routine. So they also have this, what we call a taboo to provide funding for defense and in R&D. So government also doesn't have this attitude to provide funding, even though we have tried the research arm for our military, but not many funding being provided, especially on rocket development, missile development, system integration for aircraft and for radar system. So not that we call it as this. It's not there. It is still need to be changed. It need to be provided. Of course, Center of Excellence. We are not optimizing the potential of existing institutions. We have SESI under Royal Malaysian Air Force. We have Strike under Ministry of Defence to facilitate more defence-related R&D activities. Okay, these integrated activities on composite technology, although it is key to aero manufacturing sector, also we can see there is a deficient. There's not that many new development or focus composite technology research. There are still unresolved issues involving human capital competency, as well as supply and demand, where we can say that no attempt to expose and educate government personnel which involve in procurement. Okay, as being highlighted earlier, it is not coordinated. Okay, you want to buy a new asset for fire department. You want to buy a new asset for what we call it, the Angkatan Pertahanan Awam, so APM, or any other agencies that require air support. So they are not being exposed and not being trained in terms of procurement on strategic acquisitions and through life support. Because you can just simply buy aircraft or buy business jet or buy helicopters and so on, but at the end of the day, it's not just meant to be used for 1 year or 2 years. The asset is meant to service the industry for a long period of time. Okay, and then education, qualification, continuous professional development and employment are not coordinated across industry. So that's why we can see aerospace engineers, when they graduated, they are not working in aerospace industry. They are working in food factory. They are working in palm oil plantation. They are working in oil and gas industry. Okay, it is not well coordinated. And many of our industry, they even employ non-engineers to become engineers. Of course, under the Board of Engineers Malaysia, it is a strict requirements. There is a strict regulation. It is mandatory for any person who work in the engineering sector must register with the Board of Engineers Malaysia. So not that many industry players comply to this. So they just simply employ non-engineering graduates to become an engineer in their factory or in their company. All right. So institution not producing the right workforce in terms of quality. This is very subjective. The industry always complain that the graduate engineer cannot do the right job. They are not well versed with drawings. They are not do not know about the regulation, the airworthiness, and so many terms that being used by the industry. But it requires collaboration. This industry cannot just give complaint, but they need to work closely with the institution of higher learning, the training providers, to ensure that the right workforce is being produced. Okay, not done enough to increase number of design engineers with signatory status. Of course, you can become a professional engineer registered with the Board of Engineers Malaysia, but at the end of the day, in aerospace, you need or you require signatory status from the OEM. Okay, if you are designing for Airbus, you need to get signatory status from from Airbus. If it is Boeing, from Boeing. If it is Rolls-Royce, from Rolls-Royce, and so on. It is not it's not coming from the university. It's not coming from Board of Engineers Malaysia. So the signatory, normally it requires 10 years of experience before you can become a signatory for the OEM, for future design and build projects. So despite its strategic importance, no attempt to increase the capacity to train aerostructure manufacturing workforce. So we can say that is not being coordinated, right? So you can see here the attrition rate for shop floor workers for Spirit Aerosystem, CTRM in the middle, and ACM for Boeing in Bukit Kayu Hitam. So attrition rate 20% to 28% per annum, which is big compared to the scale of industry that we have in Malaysia. Oops. All right. And then not giving enough opportunity to well-trained, highly disciplined, retired military personnel. This is another issue where we have military personnel, normally the engineering qualified staff for the armed forces, like in the Royal Malaysian Air Force, Royal Navy, and then the Army, okay, they are already well trained, but they normally retire very early, at a very young age, at the early as 38 years old to 45 years old, they already retired. But the problem is that there is no coordination between the armed forces and the of course the aerospace industry regulators to ensure that the workers, the retiree can go into the industry seamlessly. All right. Apart from MIDA, bringing in foreign direct investment, actions taken by others to strengthen industry supply chain and expose to new market is not that convincing yet. There are a lot of things need to be done. So even within ASEAN, so no visible milestone is achieved to open up defense market for MRO and system integration subsectors. Okay, and we can say that Matra is not being fully engaged to market our Malaysia's aerospace product and services. Not enough support seem to be given to the aerospace small medium enterprises and potential new players. We can also say that currently number of SMEs at tier 3 and 4 with aerospace standard 9100 and NetCap certification is still very small, Alright, so we can see here Singapore has 24 companies having net cap, Malaysia only 14, and the rest of the countries in Malaysia, in the Southeast Asia. Unsuccessful in getting raw material supplier, and AGS investment in Malaysia also one of the factor that need to be addressed, and long outstanding central secondary process facility is needed. Alright, so that's all for the sharing the local gap. Okay, what we have already shared just now, basically showing the gaps, the gaps that we need to be addressed to move forward to further develop the aerospace industry in Malaysia.